Hello, my name is Steve Cudmore, and this video provides an overview of the Northampton Outcomes and Hours Tracker, or NOA. The NOA was developed by Associate Development Solutions working with the Midlands CYP IAP Collaborative and the University of Northampton. It was designed to capture data that can be used to measure and report upon the impact of the new CYP, EMHP, EEP and recruit chain roles, and to inform future commissioning decisions. We hope that the data that we will collect through this tool will enable us to show the impact and return on investment of these new roles and to demonstrate the value of them to commissioners, service providers and policymakers. In addition, we hope the NOA can be a case note system to those working without one and to provide instant visual feedback on outcome measures to aid therapeutic interventions. This is the front screen for the NOA. From this screen, you will do most of the inputting or accessing key documents to input data. You will create your new service user and find existing service users using these buttons. That will bring up service user information here. You will then input appointment information here, as well as supervision hours. The remainder of the front page is given over to outcome measures. Via the NOA, you can enter child and parent RCADs, outcomes rating scales, the short Warwick and Edinburgh Wellbeing Scale, Score 15, EDEQ, goal-based outcomes, and sessions rating scales. In addition, once you have started to capture the information, you will be able to view this information in graphical form via the hub. First thing we're going to do is enter a new service user using this click button here. This brings up the new service user data entry form. Now what you will notice is that there is the ability to enter an NHS number, which is optional, and then there are two required fields which say first name and surname. Now you don't have to use their actual first name or their actual surname, but you do need something in these fields that you can tie to the individual so that you can match their notes, their records, their routine outcome measures and their appointments from one week to, or one appointment to the next appointment. Now, it is important to know that when you export this information to share it with us so that we can do the analysis, one, we're grouping it with everybody else's data, but you do not share the NHS number, you do not share the first name, you do not share the surname, and actually you don't share the notes either, where you have the ability in here to add free-form notes. Okay, so you share the other records, but there is nothing in the way of a personal identifiable information that is shared outside of this tool. So when you click export, we use the unique ID. So the first time you enter somebody into your tool, there will be unique ID 1, the second time 2, the third time 3, and so on and so forth. We do not see what you enter into the NHS number, first name or surname, but you do. So next time you find a service user, you can search for them by first name and surname. We recommend, for ease, using the actual first name and surname. There is no security risk of doing that. This tool sits on your PC or your laptop. It doesn't interact with any other tool until you export the data, and you're exporting the data on a simple Excel sheet, and when you do so, that personal information is not there. Okay. So we're not going to enter an NHS number. We are going to enter a first name. My name, Steve. Whoops, take caps lock off, that'd be helpful. Steve Cudmore. My age is a frightening 49. I am a male. My ethnicity is white British. Referral date is set standard as today's date. If you are retrospectively adding a referral date, simply overwrite that one there. Okay, so the referral was by GP. Reason for the referral, we'll say low mood and depression, and the referral outcome is either that I was accepted, declined, or signposted onto another service, and that could be social care, CAMS, educational psychology, voluntary sector, or other. So in this case we can say that I was accepted. And then finally, are there any other services being received by this child or young person? So social care, educational psychology. I'm aware that often you may actually be working with a CAM service, but are they receiving other CAMs support or something additional different from the other three that are given there? Once you've done that, save your service user information, and that is now stored in the knower. So once we've entered our new service user into the system, we need to bring their details up onto the main screen. So we do the find service user, which will bring up this box here, the find service user box. Now you can search for them by unique ID if you remember that. So 1, for example, and filter, and that will filter down to the single name that you want. Equally, if you are searching, you can search by surname and first name. You can either type that in, so Cudmore, and filter, and that'll filter down to all the Cudmores here, or you can use it as a drop down until you find the surname that you want. And again, if in this, as in this case, you've only got a few people on that list, you could simply just look through them, find the person you want, and click on their name, and that will bring their details up here. So what you will see now is in the personal details screen, you've got the unique ID, didn't enter an NHS number, you've got a first name and a surname, and we no longer enter a postcode. Now we have to enter the appointment information. So again, as I said before, the date in these cells is automatically populated with today's date. If you are retrospectively adding this information, you can just put a different date in there. Appointment type, we're going to say it's an assessment. Consultation method, you have various from face-to-face, telephone, or video. Of course, consultation setting. So in this case, it's home, could be in a children's centre, NHS, public space, school, or not applicable. Treatment type, various different intervention types, but as it's an assessment, we'll just say other. And the appointment outcome, and again the appointment outcome is that the next appointment is booked, I'm discharged, or I'm discharged with an onward referral, or indeed disengaged. So in this case we'll say next appointment booked, number of participants 1, and the session duration we'll say is 45 minutes. If you want to use this section for notes, you can do, that's entirely for your own records, there is no requirement for you to do so. So now we're going to enter some outcome measures. Now you'll see from this section to the right of the screen that the outcome measures section has outcome measures, goal-based outcomes in the middle, and also the session rating scale, which is an experience measure. So the looking at the goal-based outcomes, you'll see where you have the pale grey sections. These are sections like within the appointment information where you can enter things directly. So if you've never entered any goals in here before, then the first goal that you'll set, we'll say enter your first goal in here. Okay. I'm going to say not argue at home. Okay. And then you have your initial rating. I'm going to say at the moment on my scale from 1 to 10, I'll give it a rating of 4. Now I'm not going to explain to you how to use the various different outcome measures tools. I'm assuming that you know this, and there are other ways of getting that information. And I would advise if you go to the Cork website, CORC website, there's some great information about all of these tools and many others as well. So once that information is entered in there, next time I bring up my information, once I've saved this, that will then be populated. So not arguing at home, I'll give it an initial rating of 1. I may use the outcome rating scale, which is a sliding scale, which you have to measure off outside of this tool, and then you simply enter the measurements into the cells here. Okay, for personal symptom distress, interpersonal well-being, social role, I'll give myself a 0.7, why not, and a 7.7 for overall well-being. And those are the ones that you enter directly in there. Now if you want to do an ARCADS, say we're doing a child ARCAD, if you click on that cell there, it will take you to the ARCADS page within the tool. And what you need to do here, again, in line with what you know and how you know about using the ArcAds tool, you know that you need to enter a gender, because it's gender specific. Now you can use the UK school year rather than the American school year, which is, I believe, is an improvement. I'll say year 10. Data completion, again, automatically populated with today's date. If it's not today's date, just overwrite it. Okay. And then you go through with the child or young person and you enter their scores for each one of those. Okay. So, oops. And again, I'm not going to show you how to fill in the ArcAds or any of the other tools. There's plenty of information outside of this training video for how to do that. Okay, zipping through these, 47 of them I believe, and once we get the number, we'll use all of that information to give you your calculated scores across the board. Okay, so scroll up to the top, return to the front page, and you'll see that those scores are now in the tool. If I return to this just briefly, I want to show you something else. If we clear the responses there, we can clear all that data out. Okay, it's still relating to me. Male, year 10 as I said before, data completion 14th to the 12th. But this time, rather than doing the full ArcAds, we want to use a subset. So go for, say, major depression. That will highlight the questions that need answering. So if you just answer those questions, so we go through here. Okay. Yeah, I did. Go through, and you'll find that the major depression scale is the only one that's been populated. Okay. So return to the front page, let's capture the date and that information. Okay. Short Warwick and Edinburgh mental wellbeing scale, exactly the same process. Gives you a score, your score 15. Likewise, your EDEQ, likewise. And some of these tools are specific to certain roles, so you may not need to use these tools. I mean, EDEQ is an eating disorder questionnaire, may not be appropriate to your role. Okay. And then finally, it's your experience rating, your session rating scale. And again, that's the sliding scale in a similar way to the outcome rating scale, where you measure and you get your scores there. So let's go 5.5. Oh, okay. It's because I put a dot at the beginning. See, so it will correct you if you get the information wrong, or if you go outside of the settings. It's set to 10, so you see here. So I'll try to put 67 in. It's a scale up to 10 centimeters that you measure. So 6 and 4.5. There we go. So if you want to view your outcome measurement information in graphical form, you click on the hub here. That takes you to this screen, which gives you links to all the various different outcome measurements that you may have taken for a child or young person. In the example that we're using, we focus primarily on ArcAds, and I've entered some example information already, which I can show you down the bottom, and this automatically drags across based on the individual that you're looking at. So here's the information that I entered here. As you would probably do in real life, you will take a full ArcAds at the beginning of an intervention with a child or young person, just to understand where they are at that moment in time. You would then choose an area to focus on, in this case major depression. You would then just work through the subscale for the weeks that you're working with that child or young person, and at the point at which you feel you are ready to discharge, you would then return back to the full ArcAds so that you get a full picture of where the child or young person is now. So as you see, we have focused on the major depression in our example here. So because we've only got 2 data points with the total anxiety scale and the total internalizing scale, we've got a point here which is at 78 for the 9th of November, and a point on the 14th of November, which is showing that we're down to 51. The clinical threshold is shown in red, and which is 70, and the borderline, which is 65, is shown in amber. And if we scroll down a bit, you can see that as an example, I apologise, your general anxiety, which we've only taken the 2 points for, again, you have a point at the beginning and a point at the end, where we've taken the 2 full arcads. Where we've taken the arcads full and also the subscale, we have a fuller picture, and we can see the trajectory of that young person there. Return to the hub. If we had information in, you would see a similar picture for the parent arcads, for the score 15, as Sheffield Warwick, and the short Warwick and Edinburgh mental wellbeing scale, and outcome rating scale, and so on and so forth. Goal-based outcomes look slightly different. So here you still get your T1 as your standard rating, and then each week you update it with your the rating on a week-by-week basis. Okay, and then we return to the front page. The last thing we have to do is record all of the data that we've put into the system on this appointment, and close this young person's record from the front of the system. So you do that by clicking on the record and close button. Now this takes you through the graphs, and what you need to do is you need to click into this clear graphs arrow. Now the reason for that is I could automatically close it, but the Excel doesn't automatically remove background data from the graphs. So the next time you click into it with another young person, if we didn't do that process, you run the risk of that other young person's data being there for a split second as it realizes that it's old data. By doing it now, it gives the Excel the opportunity to realize, then removes all the background data from all of the graphs, and so the next time you enter a young person's details in this, go to the hub and go to the graphs, they are entirely populated with that child's and young person's data only. You can also use the NOAA to record your supervision hours, and to do that you either enter information against an existing child or young person, or more likely you enter your information as a new service user, exactly the same way as you would enter a service user's information. Okay. And once you've entered that information there, you'll find yourself on that list like everybody else, and then it's when we go to appointment type, you would record it as potentially something like education clinical or supervision. You'll see that by doing that your consultation methods have changed, so you may be looking at clinical skills, the setting where you received your supervision, exactly the same as before. Treatment types again have changed. What was your discussion about? Appointment outcome is not relevant. Number of participants. If it's single one-on-one supervision, then you just record 1. It's the number of people receiving supervision. If you are receiving supervision as part of a group, say there's 3 of you, then when you come to your session duration, you enter the duration for the whole session, which may still be an hour, 60 minutes, remember you record it in minutes, but that will be split amongst the number of people receiving that supervision. And in exactly the same way as you would for a child or young person, you simply record and close that information, zipping through those clear graphs as you do normally, and then that information is in the system. You can then interrogate that information by scrolling down here and clicking on the practitioner hour button. This brings you to a couple of pivot tables. Now the first pivot table along here will record all of your activity that you've entered into the system, so for assessments, supervision and treatment and so forth, and give you a tally. So the information we'd entered for this example was that we'd done 1 assessment and we had done 5 different treatments, as you recall. We've now entered a couple of supervision sessions as well, and that's the total number of minutes for that supervision. If you wanted to just look at, say for example, your supervision, I'll do that again because I'll show you. So if you simply wanted to look at particular elements, then what you do is you go to the row label here, and you click on that drop down, and you select the areas that you want to look at. So clear them all by clicking on select all, and then I want to see supervision and I want to see educational clinical. OK it, and that will just tally all of the hours that you've recorded in all the sessions purely for those elements that that you decided to look at, and that will give you the total of supervision time that you have done. Select all, and now you're looking at the whole picture again. And likewise over here, you also have an account of appointment outcome, and that's particularly important for something like discharge, whereby you pass your training based on the number of children and young people that have been discharged. So if you record that information into the system, this will give you a tally here of the number of children and young people that you've discharged. So the last thing I'm going to show you is how to export data from the NOAA to an external source for analysis. Now the way you do this is you copy key anonymized data from the background sheets of NOAA into a blank Excel document. So blank Excel here. What you need to do is you need to set up so that there are two separate tabs, sheet 1 and sheet 2. And then if we return to the NOAA and you scroll down from the front page, you will find 1, an explanation of what you need to do, and 2, buttons. So you click on the first, copy children and young people's data for external share, and then you return to your blank sheet, click into the cell A1 and paste the information across. And as you can see, it doesn't carry across any of the name information, the NHS number, or anything else that is identifiable. We have the unique ID, which as I said was 123. We have their age at referral, the referral reason, ethnicity, referral date, where they came from in terms of high level referrer, the referral outcome, and whether or not they were accessing other services, and their gender as well. Sexuality was a field that we no longer capture. Okay. And click into sheet 2, return to the NOAA, click on copy appointment data, return to your blank Excel, click into cell A1 and paste. And likewise, the information you get here is you get unique ID number. We don't no longer carry across the age of referral information. All of the information we've used and fed into this example was associated with unique ID 1, but if we had put information against person 2 and person 3, you would have seen those numbers reflected there. Likewise, the date of the intervention, and as you can see as we scroll across, there is nothing in there that is identifiable for the individual. There is no notes information or anything else along that line. Okay, it is worth checking. So before you export this and send this out, just check that there is no personal identifiable information. If I show you in NOAA itself the 2 sheets that you are actually exporting, or versions of them, are like this. Now, in older versions of Excel, we have found that automatic copy and paste sometimes seems to copy across these cells. Now, they're marked in red for a reason. Before you send it, just make sure that those cells are not there. If you were to find yourself in a position, I'll just paste these ones in, so this is what it might look like. If you had something that looked like that and you have those cells in there, just highlight those rows and delete them. Okay, and once you save that, that information is no longer in that Excel. Okay. Right. Turn to the front screen, and that is it. So that's the end of this video on the NOAA, the Northampton Outcomes and Hours Tracker. In this video we've shown you how to input a new service user, find a service user, enter appointment information, enter outcome measures, access the hub and view graphical representation of the outcome measures, record and save information into the NOAA, and also input, access, view supervision hours and export data. I will create shortened versions of specific items within this video as well if you need to access them for reference. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you enjoy using the NOAA and find it a useful tool. Thank you.